Hello, it's Kevin here. Time for a video. You are lucky today. It's December the 24th, Christmas Eve. But I have a bit of time in between my usual Christmas Day capers, so I thought I'd quickly make a video because I promised one for the people in IELTS 9 Pro. So, as always, disclaimer first. Fair use teaching, blah, blah, blah. Okay. So now, Cam 16 now, we've started. Yeah? So, Cam 17, we did the 4 essays, we did the 4 task 1s. This is the first task 1. Actually, I don't know if you can pick this up, but the church bells are ringing. I don't know if you can hear that, because it's Christmas Eve. Anyway, so, writing task 1, Cam 16, this is from test 1. So this one's pretty straightforward. We've got 2 charts, 2 line charts or graphs or whatever you want to call them. So we've got the changes in ownership of electrical appliances, right? So it's ownership of a washing machine, a fridge, vacuum cleaner, percentage of households from 0 to 100%, as in all households. Sorry. Begins in 1920, goes up to 2019, so it's a century, essentially. Okay. And compared with, across the same period, a century, number of hours of housework per week. That includes washing clothes, cleaning, etc. Alright? So this one's pretty easy because we can see there's a direct relationship or correlation between ownership of washing machines, fridges and cleaners compared with a decrease in hours of washing clothes, preparing meals and cleaning. Is this a coincidence? I think not. So in terms of clearly identifying main trends and features, as I've been mentioning in the previous couple of videos, especially for the overview, a lot of you, these are the people in Telegram, the ones whose writings I've been speaking about. They've been getting the overviews not wrong, but they haven't been correctly identifying the key trends and features. I won't show you the criteria because you've seen it in the previous 4 videos, so I shouldn't have to show it to you again. But you've got to clearly identify overall 3, usually 3, maybe 4 keys to trends. So what's gone up, what's gone down, what's unchanged, etc. So for this one here, it's pretty straightforward. The top one, everything has increased. Obviously, there's a couple of minor variations. Refrigerators, the one that's shown the most dramatic increase or changes. 100% of ownership, as well as the vacuum cleaner, 100% of ownership. But still, we can see that, and then hours going down. Okay, so we'll take a look at mine first. Is this one mine? Yeah, this one's mine. Then we'll take a look at yours. So all that you need to do, same for paragraphs, for your structure. 199 words, could be shorter, but 199 will be fine. So, introduction, the charts illustrate how the percentage of appliance ownership changed, one country, how many hours per week were spent on housework. That's it, right? So you just take what's on the rubric, what's on the axis, x-axis, y-axis, etc. Okay, so that's easy, right? Just make sure that you don't simply copy and paste it. Or copy it, you have to change it in some way at least. Overall, now the overview, key trends, no figures or detail, right? Ownership of all electrical appliances increased considerably, which they did, going from that all the way up to 100% of it. It was like 20-30% of ownership. Yeah, what was it? 0%, 30%, going straight up to 100%. So every household. Okay. Increased considerably, refrigerators and vacuum cleaners particularly, whereas, by way of contrast, none of ours on housework shows an equally significant and steady decline across the century. That's it. Refrigerators saw the biggest rise in ownership. So, paragraph 3 and 4, you just go into the figures and details. So, obviously, it makes sense to do the ownership, paragraph 3, and then the one for housework is pretty straightforward. So, there's only 2 sentences here, right? Refrigerators saw the biggest rise in ownership, 0%, 50%, 100%. Vacuum cleaners in contrast. Now, you can read it at your convenience. I'll leave it here. You can read it all. But it's pretty easy. This particular task, it's not that taxing. And then for the housework, as for the hours spent on housework, these fell from 50 to 20 to a little over 10 hours. That's it. Okay? So that's pretty straightforward. Now, let's have a look at yours and see what we can do here. Let me just pull this along, put some changes on, and let's see what we can see. Now, I'm not going to rewrite all of these. Sometimes, if it was just one essay and I was, I just had one essay to make a video, I would rewrite it, as in I would say, I would change this and I would actually do it and type it out. I don't have the time now, and to be frank, I can't be asked. So I might change one or two things, but I'm not going to rewrite the entire writing sentence or paragraph if it's required. Okay, so let's start with this one. So we've got 5. It's the first 5. So as I say, if you're watching this on Telegram or a Parrot for IELTS 9, then these are the first 5 that I got. If you're watching it on YouTube, again, this is from my Telegram group, IELTS 9 Pro. Links to it below if you want to join, if you want to post your writings, you can feel free to do so. I usually take the first 5, first come, first served, unless it's someone who's always first, who's had their writings commented on before, but if it's not, first at 5. Okay, so let's take a look at these. So, 2 graphs provide specific information during 1920 to 2019. Well, yeah, but specific information, they're not going to include non-specific information, are they? So that's a bit of a nonsense. And that is really short for a sentence. The first one illustrates how devices. Okay. They spent on houseworks or housework. And cleaning house. Okay, so okay, that's not too bad, I suppose. Okay, now overall, but it's just that initial sentence. What does that mean? Right. Overall, over the whole period, devices, that should be a C, I think, had an increased trend. The amount of hours spending in domestic code. Okay, now that's accurate, and this is 212 words. But it doesn't really go into the same level of detail that mine does. So mine's only 199 words. So it doesn't really go into, so they did increase and that did decrease, but there's a little bit more that you could add, right, to get a higher task achievement score. Can be seen from first graph, percentage of households with refrigerator or with a refrigerator. Was with, well, it wasn't with, it might have been at 0% at the beginning of the period, and that of washing machine and vacuum was 40 and 30% respectively. Dramatic increase in the proportion of using refrigerator, what of who? So of, you could say refrigerator, and it's not using, its ownership. You might own something and not use it. So, I suppose if you owned a fridge you would use it, but just in general terms, just because you own something doesn't necessarily mean that you use it, of course. Since 1920, since must be what you mean from, into 60, of around or about 90%, not percentage, 90%. Using vacuum cleaner overtook washing machine in 1960. Well, that's too short a sentence. And using, it was ownership. Overtook washing machine what? Ownership. But what's the figures? So, no figures here. No details there. You've got some figures here, but why are there no figures here? Utilising washing machine, again, it's not, it's ownership. And then recovered afterward. Again, from what to what? There's no figures here, no data. Second graph, number of hours people spent on doing housework, shows the number of hours that people spent doing housework. I'll see if I can do it with a single click. 50 hours on a weekly basis, and then during 40 years, or over, it's like over 40 years, what's a slop in time? No idea what that means. Spending on declined slop in time, spending on house chores, I suppose. Household chores, I suppose you mean. 20% over the next 60 years. This time decreased gradually in a gradual spread. What does that mean? That doesn't work. Gradually. Oops, and it reached a low amount. Yeah, but what low amount? I mean, so was it the final amount? Was it the lowest? A low amount? That doesn't really work. So you need to watch these short sentences. Right? You've got a short sentence here, then you've got another short sentence there, and there's no figures or data. So that needs to be a bit of reworking, I think. Okay, this is number 2. The given charts illustrate the proportions of household activities with electrical devices. Okay, but it's not electrical devices in general, it's specifically household appliances, not devices in general. Housework weaker in the country of the period from 1920 to 1919. So you need to be careful when you paraphrase, because that could be any device. And it does say household appliances. I think I mentioned that. Yeah, electrical appliance ownership, household appliance. So when we say electrical appliance, that specifically we're talking about stuff like vacuum cleaners, washing machines, etc. That's what appliance means. A device, it could be anything. This thing that I'm using kind of here is a device. It's an electrical device of sorts, but it's not for household activities though, so you just need to be a little bit careful there. Can we go to the scenes? It's an electrical appliances upward trend. Okay. Now, okay. Yeah. Again, you could have mentioned something like the upward trends. There's one distinct feature that refrigerator use is obviously more than the other two. So you could maybe mention that in your overview. Recording to the first graph. You mean what? Referring to? You can't record a sort of graph. You can't record to. Do you mean that? Referring to the first graph. Using of refrigerator wasn't started indeed. Wasn't started? This is not good. So I think you mean that refrigerator use didn't, but it did start though. Well, it starts from zero. So how was it wasn't started? Wasn't started indeed? That's not phrased particularly well. But by following the upward trend, it hit the peak. It hits, well, a peak, or its peak at 100% in 2019. Again, was accounted. What's all this wasn't started was accounted for? So you can't have a percentage accounting. You could say vacuum cleaner usage accounted for, etc. But you can't say the percentage of using a vacuum cleaner was accounted for 30%. And you've got a percentage, and then you've got 30%. So you don't need to say both. You can just say, whereas vacuum cleaner usage accounted for 30% of the total, but it didn't account for anything. So you don't even need accounted as a verb. You could just say vacuum clean, the usage started at 30%, or, but accounted, we can't really use that there. It had an increase by. Is it by or is it of for each period between that? It reached 200% in 2019. Washing machine increased, decline, but again it reached up to around. Okay, it's more or less got all the figures here and the details. You just need to be very careful how you phrase it, how you word it. This is not coming across as natural. You can see how I've explained it here. So you've got your subject, refrigerator saw, verb, indirect object, direct object, biggest rise in ownership. Yeah? So vacuum cleaners began, not usage of. You could do that, but you could say the ownership of refrigerators was at so-and-so, So you need to be very careful how you do this here. Anyway, so good as much the figure was accounted for. What's this passive? Was accounted for, but it declined to 20 hours. The figure was slight decrease with a downward trend. Okay. So not too bad, but we need to work on some of the wording here. What's obvious was accounted, wasn't started. That doesn't quite work out. So this is the third one. Alternations. Well, it's not alternations, is it? Alternations? You mean what? Alterations in ownership? You mean the changes? In one nation. Now, I've seen a couple of people on other sites using this. Country is not a nation. I'm not going to explain the political differences between a nation and a country, but a country is not necessarily a nation, and vice versa. So I won't use it. Simply a country. You don't have to change every word. Okay? Overall, what stands out is that percentage of household prices increased. Yeah? Okay, good. Now, okay, that's a good one. That's a good overview. Again, you could have made the differential refrigerators out of the three. One was obviously a standout. You could have put that in. I don't think anybody has yet. Nobody's mentioned that yet. Just the whole thing's up and that's gone down. True, but again, we can see clearly that the refrigerator is obviously outstanding in terms of that. I mean, if I quickly open it up again, this should be it. Yeah. So you can see, where are we? Yeah. You can see refrigerator use is obviously, so the general trend for all three appliances is upwards. That's pretty clear. But we can see that refrigerator is outstanding. Not the same as the previous two, So I would mention that. While the general trend, but there's one obvious outlier. Refrigerator use. You could maybe mention that. Anyway, see the first graph. Refrigerator. Hang on. That's right. First of all, according to the first chart, having fluctuated with varying slopes, all figures have an upward trend. Well, you basically said that. I mean, that belongs in the overview. I mean, this is 254 words, which is a little bit much. That's basically repeating what you've just said, essentially, in the overview. That's not particularly good, is it? Figure of washing machine began, and the 20 rose up sort of slight 6 minutes, a dip, and hit a peak. Okay, figure of vacuum cleaner, similar figure of vacuum cleaner, ownership started, rose steadily until it reached 100% to that. I think leveled after 9. However, the figure of refrigerator 100% down went up dramatically went up dramatically to. It can't go at, it can go to. Leveled off, you're back in a stable train, again more. Now, I wouldn't put in that because although it may be true, you're not supposed to draw conclusions from the data. So we can't really be saying this is what that implies, or this is what, because it doesn't actually show that. And they do say don't actually do this, all right? Stop you for a few hours, which means people use electrical appliance for which means people use electrical appliances for fewer hours in 20. So there's too much data in that one, and there's not enough figures and data in that one. And you've got 234 words, and you've got that, which should be in the overview. So that needs a little bit of reworking also. First line, okay, yeah, that's good, all right. Overall percentage was right. So that part of the overview is good, but that part not so good. Clearly identifying key trends and features. So it's kind of mentions it there, but still, that's not what you need for the overview. Clearly identify all 3 have gone up, 1 up faster than the other 2. Everything else has gone down. That's it. Got the first graph. Few percentages of households had refrigerator around 2. Few percentage of households had a refrigerator at around 2%. 55% had respectively a vacuum cleaner. Right, so you usually put the figures 30% and 40% respectively. You usually do it in that way if you're using respectively. Washing machine in the 1920. In 1920. After that, whose refrigerators were 9 times what? 9 times what? 9 times more than what? Well, the figures of the 2 another appliance. It started off quite well, and then it's not so good now. Almost 2 times. So you don't need 9 times and then put the percentage. Just put the percentage, actual figures. You don't need anything else. What's the figures? You could say, so if it's not precisely 20% or 90%, you could say approximately, round about, or roughly. Usually, approximately is a better academic word, but we don't need 2 times 90%. So just give us the figures. 100%. So that needs a bit of rework. It's not as clear as it could be. If you look at mine, I do fridge, washing machine, and vacuum. Obviously, fridge, vacuum, and washing machine. Yeah, by order of size. That's what I would do because there's only 3 there. So washing machine was more, vacuum cleaner second. No, I forgot. If I can say so. Refrigerator was first. Yeah, 100%. Vacuum cleaner, and then washing machine. Not everybody had a washer. Okay, so that's what I would basically do there. 1, 2, 3. Biggest, next biggest, and the smallest. Looking at the time profile graph. Is it a time profile graph? We can see that Every household spent who has week on 13. So spent, yeah, but so did it drop or fall? February 1920, which fell or dropped to around 15 hours per week in 1980. Almost, well, something, right, so how can it almost be steady? It's either steady or it isn't steady. It's not almost a steady. It's either steady or it's unsteady. So you can't really say that. That's week 2019. 251 words. Too long. Okay. Electrical applications. Applications, not necessarily appliances. Oh, appliances. Have I spelled that right? Yeah, sorry. Appliances tends to be housework is not usually countable. You don't say houseworks. It's housework is an abstract. A noun. It's a noun. It's not usually countable. We don't say houseworks. We say, I've done the housework. I'm doing the housework. I spent 4 hours doing the housework. There's no such thing of houseworks. A week in the country. Okay, let's go appliances. Now, overview. And it's not a summary. It's not to sum up. It's not a conclusion. It should be an overview. And as the name over, not underview, overview implies, I would put it over the information, not under, because it's not called an underview. It's called an overview. I'm just saying, unexpectedly fallen, unexpectedly fell. Who said it was unexpected? Why would it be unexpected? It doesn't actually show that. All it shows, as we've seen, is that this went up and at the same time this went down. Maybe we would imagine there's a correlation, but it's not expected or unexpectedly. Why would it be unexpected? If everybody's got a washing machine, a fridge, and a vacuum cleaner, why would it be unexpected that the hours spent on housework would fall? I would have thought the other way around. Anyway, general trend is increased. Ownership of refrigerators has increased. Why are you using present perfect? Should it just be simple past? Increase, because it was at this time, at that time. 0%. Why don't you just use the percentage key wherever it is on your keyboard? Put your percentage keys. What is it? Is it 50 watt? Put your percentage in. Oh, that's it. Respecting your vacuum cleaners has climbed up. No, okay. So now you could use present perfect there, has climbed up consistently over the years, but still we're not comparing past and present, so I wouldn't use it. It's because it's between 1920 and 2019, so it's it's in the past. If it were connecting past and present, you could use present and perfect, but I won't use it there. Climbed up consistently, 30%. What's this? Is present? What is present? And so forth. So it raised. Well, it didn't raise. It might have increased, but it didn't raise. Something was raised, but it didn't raise. It can rise, but here I think increased. Regarding hours of housework, put a comma. Total trend is to descend. Total trend, why is that capitalized? A total trend, so it's a decline. It's not a descend, because that's what happens when you climb down some steps into your basement. That's a descent. So it's not descending. It's declining. Maybe. Total trend is declining, or a declining sort of trend. So that needs reworking. Again, I'm not going to retype the entire sentence. at 1920. Well, it's in 1920. And who says it's citizens? It could be illegal migrants. How do we know who did this housework? I don't know. So it's people, or instead of saying other people, instead of saying people did this, make it other passive. Hours spent on housework were, make it passive voice. Surely that would be easier than saying it was people, which, well, obviously it kind of was, but I wouldn't use citizens unless it specifically mentions that particular word. With respect to so, and the overview needs to be over, not under. So, not too bad. Some of these need a bit of reworking. Some of the structure, the syntax is not so good. You all did an overview, but it could have been a little better. And some of you missed out some of the figures and data and didn't clearly identify all the trends and features, but still, not too bad. So let me put mine back on. I'll probably go and post the next task now. Now I'm, working, I suppose you might call it, at this time. So this one's mine. I'll slowly scroll up so you can see it. You can see that there. I think you should be able to see it all there. Okay, so not too bad. I'll post the next one from Cambridge 16. I'm not sure what it is. I can't remember, actually. Let's have a look. Come on. Very slow. Right, so that's what we've just done. And the next one is gonna be a process. Sugar and sugar cane. We haven't had a process yet, so this should be interesting. So I'm gonna put this in the group, and so again, disclaimer, fair like use, blah 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 blah. I'm gonna put that in the Telegram group. You can take a look at it, and I'll probably do it on, maybe not tomorrow because it's Christmas Day, maybe on Monday. We'll see. So, hope that helps, and I'll see you next time.